All right, so we're going to be getting into the final big screenplay project that we're going to do for this year. And what I want to talk about today is the way Hollywood screenplays are put together. Now, there's not like a mathematical formula for this, but there is some kind of general rules that they tend to follow for your kind of big Hollywood epic films. You can kind of break it down into 5 key turning points. Let's take a look. There they are. The setup, the new situation, progress, complications, the final push, and the aftermath. You know what? Let's go through each one of these one by one, and I will explain how this works. Stage 1 is the setup. You want to hook your audience in some way and draw them into this world. But you also need to cover all the basics. We need to know who our protagonist is, where do they live, what do they like, are they funny and smart, are they sweet and innocent, are they powerful, strong leader? At the beginning of the film, where is our character at? So in Star Wars, we've got Luke Skywalker. He's a farm boy on a desert planet looking for a more adventurous life. In WALL-E, we've got WALL-E, the last robot on Earth, just kind of going through the garbage, kind of trying to entertain himself. In Iron Man, we start off with Iron Man. He's an arrogant, kind of a jerk a little bit, and runs a weapons company. In Tangled, she starts out, she's trapped in her room at the top of the tower with the lizard, and she's literally singing a song about how this is just a regular, boring day. And that's kind of what you want to show. You want to show a regular day in the life of these characters. But then something happens. You have your first turning point. Turning point 1, the opportunity. So the main character needs to present it with something. Something new needs to come into their life, set them on a new path for the rest of the story. In Star Wars, he gets the message from Princess Leia. In The Matrix, he gets the mysterious phone call saying he needs to get out of there right now. In The Hunger Games, the new opportunity, she joins the Hunger Games. She becomes a tribute. In Finding Nemo, he goes up and touches the boat and then gets picked up and taken away. So it's setting the story off on its new direction. In Iron Man, that's when Iron Man gets blown up and captured and put in the cave prison cell. In Twilight, that's when the girl gets rescued by the sparkly vampire guy, and all of a sudden her whole life is different. Okay, so stage 2 is the new situation. Your protagonist is now in this new situation. Nobody knows what's going to happen next. So if your character doesn't know what's going to happen next, then the audience doesn't know what's going to happen next. And all of a sudden, everybody's staring at the screen just waiting to see what happens. There's usually sort of sense of fun and adventure at this point. Maybe somebody's got some new superpowers. This is the fun part of the adventure. So in Lord of the Rings, that's when they go off and they start doing their Lord of the Rings adventure stuff. In Twilight, that's when, the sparkly vampire guy and the girl are like running around in the forest, and all of a sudden there's this new and exciting life they have. In The Matrix, that's when, he learns Kung Fu, and all of a sudden he becomes a Kung Fu master. He's not just a boring desk jockey anymore. He's now a superhero. In Iron Man, that's when he's like building his Iron Man suit. So he's basically gaining, building his own superpowers. During turning point 2, you need to reveal the final goal. What is the point of this movie? What do our characters need to do to know that this movie is over? How are you going to complete the story? Usually you don't want to do this right at the very beginning. You wait a little bit. You want to introduce your characters first and get to know your characters, and then all of a sudden you realize that there is something that they need to do in order to complete this. That's why you don't see the Death Star in the first shot of Star Wars. You see Death Star a little bit after you've already met your characters. In Iron Man, that's when the bad guy builds his bad guy Iron Man suit. And we know at some point, big bad Iron Man are going to have to fight regular Iron Man. Any love story, the final goal is always the two characters getting together. They always overcome some kind of difficulties, but if it's a love story, the two characters are going to get together at the end. Tangled, she wants to see the lanterns. That she says that pretty early on that she's always wanted to go see these lanterns. And again, it is a love story, so she does have to get together with the dude in the end. And look, they combined at the same time. She's there with the lanterns as she falls in love with the guy. WALL-E, the final goal is to bring the plant. They have to bring the plant and put it in the machine, and then the machine will bring the people back to Earth. But it's all about getting this plant there. So the plant is the key. Okay, stage 3, making progress. At this point in the story, protagonist knows their final goal. They know what they're supposed to be doing. They should be making progress, and the audience should feel like they're moving forward. You're kind of accomplishing secondary goals at this point. You're not fighting the big bad, but you're fighting like other stuff. So in Iron Man, that's when he's off sort of doing his montage of blowing up tanks in some weird country all of a sudden. If you're in a sports movie, every sports movie ever is gonna need some kind of montage, like a training montage where people are training to get ready for the big fight. Halfway through your film, usually around 60 minutes into it, you hit the point of no return. Something big has to happen. The character must make a decision that forces them to never turn back to their old life they led at the beginning of the movie. They're now fully committed to their goal. Usually, it's something bad and or unexpected is happening at the point of no return. So, point of no return in Titanic. The boat hits the iceberg. Oh no, no returning now. But also, Jack and Rose get together. So they've been. She's supposed to be married with some other guy, but now she's making out with Jack in the back of a car. So they're both at point of no returns. Metaphors. Hey, there you go. The Matrix, point of no return. That's when Morpheus gets captured. So now that Morpheus is captured, Neo has to be the only one in control. He's always had Morpheus telling him what to do and holding his hand, but now Neo is all on his own. Star Wars, point of no return. Ooh, they're captured. They're on the Death Star. Iron Man. That's when the Ironmonger, the bad guy, steals his girlfriend. Okay, higher stakes. Now that your protagonist is fully committed, the stakes are higher because there is no turning back now. They have to show the audience that they're stronger, ready to achieve their final goals. Not really the final battle, but it is usually the biggest action sequence of the film is kind of in there. In a romantic movie, it's usually a big date night that you've been building towards. So, Doctor Strange, that's when you have like the big chase going through the weird New York. It's all twisty. In The Matrix, that's when you got the big action sequence where they go through the lobby and shoot a million people. The Avengers, that's when you got all those big actions, all those action sequences going on in the helicarrier all at the same time. Tangled, that's when they run into that big dam. I don't know if you guys remember Tangled. But anyways, yeah, there's a big action sequence at a dam, and then the dam knocks down, there's a big flood, and it's a big action sequence. Twilight, they play baseball. Go watch Twilight if you haven't watched it. It's awful. Okay, turning point number 4, the setback. Okay, it's about 75% of the way through, something has to go horribly wrong. All hope is lost. The plan will never work. Our hero must decide whether to continue fighting or just give up and accept life as a total loser. In a romantic comedy, it's usually where they find out the protagonist was lying all along. You know, their big date that they were supposed to go on, it went horribly wrong, and all of a sudden the truth comes out. So Star Wars, major setback. Oh, Obi-Wan gets killed. Oh no. Hunger Games, the big setback. Whatever, her little friend gets killed. Titanic, the big setback. They get trapped inside the boat. They can't escape. 300 setback. That weird ogre guy tells the bad guys how to sneak up on all of our heroes. Iron Man. That's when the bad guy deals Iron Man's arc reactor out of his chest. So we've made it to the final push, the big climax. Our hero must fight their biggest battle, emotionally or physically. The final goal must be reached clearly so the audience knows we have reached the end of the film. One big powerful image is the best way to do that. If it's an action movie, you're going to have a big battle, maybe the main two and the antagonist and the hero squaring off one-on-one. If it's a romantic movie, that's when they run through the airport after their lover who's leaving and cry, "Oh, I love you so much, you complete me." Okay, Titanic, the climax, the boat sinks. Tangled, the climax, they cut her hair off. The entire time this film has been centered around her hair, and all of a sudden, boom, they cut it off. Matrix, the climax, Neo can stop bullets. All this time he's being shot at, and he's having to run away and hide from the bad guys, but now, all of a sudden, you can see he clearly is in control. Star Wars, blowing up the Death Star, kaboom. Iron Man, I am Iron Man. Now, this one's kind of interesting, because Iron Man, there is a big fight at the end, between him and the Ironmonger, but this is really the climax of the film. It's the thing everybody remembers about that first movie. It's probably one of the most iconic lines in cinema these days. And it is the climax of him as a character, because he started as an arrogant jerk, and now he's finally accepting responsibility for himself and his actions. Epilogue. You don't always have an epilogue. Some movies don't have epilogue, but sometimes you have other stuff that needs to get wrapped up. We've probably defeated our bad guy, but then there's still usually some character stuff that needs to be resolved. It can be short or long depending upon how much plot is left. The Avengers, their epilogue, they go eat shawarma. Star Wars, the epilogue, everybody gets a medal. Frozen, the epilogue, they go, we're never going to close the doors again. We're just going to party. Finding Nemo, epilogue. His dad and Dory are together, and they're telling jokes. He's making jokes. He's not as nervous as he used to be. Wall-E, epilogue, they go back to Earth and they start planting plants. Okay, so let's break this down again. 5 sections. Setup, opportunity, new situation, reveal the goal, making progress, point of no return, higher stakes, big action, major setback, climax, epilogue. That's generally how a screenplay is put together. Now, not every screenplay follows this exactly, but it is a nice sort of structure to build around. Okay, so what are we doing first? Okay, so you'll get this document, and you need to fill it out. This is just you trying to make an outline and make a plan for your film. So you put your name there, the title of your screenplay, what do you think it's going to be called? Pick a genre, adventure, comedy, romance, thriller, drama, and then fill out all the stuff that's just going to ask you a bunch of questions about your film. Now, you need to kind of figure out what your film's going to be about before. Once you have an idea, you can kind of fill this out, and it will help you make sure you kind of hit some interesting plot points. So where's the setting? What's your main character look like? Maybe there's secondary characters. You probably need a bad guy. There's some kind of antagonist that the person is fighting against. Doesn't always have a human antagonist, but a lot of times you do. What will be the hook? Just find something interesting and fun to put in the beginning of the film. Something that will get people excited about watching your movie from the beginning. What's the new opportunity? What's the event that's going to set this whole thing into motion? You should start with something, just seeing our characters, and then something new happens. So try and establish your characters before you actually have them deal with anything. New situation, how will the character situation changed? And then what's your final goal? You remember you want to reveal that a little bit later after you've established your characters. Progress, maybe any kind of action stuff going on, higher stakes, your big action. And then what's the major setback? Try and have something negative happen to our characters. They need something to fight against. And then the big climax. How do you end your film? You're going to end it. How do we resolve the film? This, of course, is the most important thing about any film. How do you end it? Because that's what people remember when they walk out the door. And then if you have an epilogue, you don't have to have one. But if you do, you put it in there. All right, so that's our mission, is to come up with an idea and fill this out.